So today we're going to go ahead and do our first assembly using OnShape. So the first step, once you open up OnShape, go ahead and go down to your class period, your team. When you click on it, you should see this Lego IED. Go ahead and double click on it to open it up. And then your next step, again, you aren't able to edit this one right away, so you're going to have to make a copy. So go ahead and you're going to go up to the three lines, horizontal lines to the right of OnShape. When you click on it, it tells you copy workspace. So go ahead and click on that option. I'm going to go ahead and change it to my initials in my class period. So it's going to be KC and then period 2, and then go ahead and click OK. All right. Now we have a good old classic Lego, and I know you guys many people used to build with Lego, so we are gonna use kind of some of the first basic tools to assemble a few Lego pieces. So I know there's only one, but this is the great thing about an assembly. You don't have to recreate the same object multiple times. So we're gonna build something with only a 2x4 Lego, and we're going to put multiple ones in there. So go ahead now and you're going to go to assembly. And if you notice nothing's in there, okay, you need to click on this insert button. Okay. And if you notice, this pops up right here. So I'm going to click on part 1 and click on it once. And if you notice, one of them appears. And if I move my mouse over on top, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It's kind of hanging out there in space. So it's not going to stay there until you left click once. So I'm going to left click. Now if you note, it kind of goes away. So I need to insert another one. So just go ahead and click on it. I'm going to click on another one, click on it, click on another one, click on it, click on another one. Okay. All right. Go ahead and click on a green check when you're done inserting. You can always go back. Sometimes it's actually really helpful if you only put a few parts in at a time. If you put all of them in, it can get crowded and it can get confusing, okay? Because you're going to have to be specific as to where you're going to click when we use these, what we kind of call constraints and mates up above, okay, in order to assemble things together. So our first step is right now, if you try to click and hold on any of these, they are moving all over the place. That means right now they have all degrees of freedom. They can move up, down, rotate, left, right. They can move in all directions, okay? So your first step should always be fixing and using a fix mate one of your key parts to the origin. And the reason why that's important is that helps you center everything, especially when you're trying to find your document and look for it on using your view cube, and you're trying to find them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose, doesn't matter which one of the Legos to fix to the origin, that center mark. Okay, so we're going to use our fasten mate. Okay, and if you hold over, it will kind of give you an idea of what's going to happen. So it says it removes all degrees of freedom, all of them. That means once you apply this mate, it will not be able to move. So I'm going to click on it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on the origin. But if you notice, depending upon where I move, that circle can kind of change directions, right? And that's going to be key. So I'm going to zoom in so I can see it a little bit better, right? I would like to zoom it flat, and I would like this blue and yellow line facing up. Okay, so I'm going to click on that one. All right. But now what that means is I want to fasten it. That's going to be like the bottom corner, right? So I want to fasten it to the bottom corner of one of these. Not here, because otherwise, again, it's going to stay rotated this way. So I'm going to rotate my cube or my space, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead, and again, if you notice it's on this flat space, I can even kind of rotate a little more so you can see. And I don't want it here. I want it to be right on that corner, okay? And I don't want it on the side because again, they are going to mate. They are going to match up. So you want to make sure that they are aligned and parallel. It's almost as if like where you're going to add glue, okay? So I want to make sure I'm clicking and this plane bottom face is highlighted. And I don't want that corner. I want this outside corner and I want that circle facing that direction. So I'm going to click on it now. And if you notice, I know it turned everything. So don't click on this green check. You want to make sure. So go over to this view cube, click on isometric. And if you notice, awesome, they made it, but my Lego piece is upside down. Don't worry. Okay, remember, it's upside down because we clicked on the circles to face in the same direction. We want them to be parallel. But you can use these two to kind of switch the axis and switch the rotation. So let's see what happens. Okay, and this will help you figure out your exact orientation before you click the green check. So let's see. I'm going to click on this reorientate. And if you notice, it's spinning it around that Z axis. Okay, why? Because remember when I first selected the origin, that Z axis, that blue axis that was highlighted, okay? So I do want it about there, but now I want to switch the direction. Flip. There you go. I could flip it back if I want to, or I could flip it, okay? In essence, it's kind of flipping it around the x-axis technically. But there we go. And that looks perfect, great. That's how I want it orientated. That way when I'm looking at the front, there we go. When I'm looking isometric, awesome. Green check. I'm done, okay? Now I'm gonna close this fasten window and show you a few things. So if you notice, here is that mate that we just did, okay? So if you want to edit it, you can double click it. You can change, if you want to change it, you can delete these. If you want there to be an offset, meaning if you want it to be lifted up a little bit, you can do that. If I click on it, it's going to give me the ability to offset it, but I don't want to do that, so I'm going to deselect it. Get the green check. And now if you notice, if I click and hold and try to move that Lego piece, it's not going to move, okay? But all of these, they still have their degrees of freedom and they still have every single one, okay? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place another piece directly next to it, okay? So I'm going to again use our fasten. Go ahead and click on fasten. And this time, again, I want it to pretend as if I'm putting glue right here, right? So I'm going to click on that and I'm even going to make sure it's directly at the center, right? But I want that to go to this side. And I also zoom in so I can select it directly in the center. Click to make that stay. And if you notice, they started to fasten. But again, I want this to rotate a little bit. So I'm going to click on that, keep clicking until I get the view that I want. That looks great. There we go. Click the green check to confirm. And now if I go back to my isometric view, there we go. I click to try to move them all. It's not moving. Close that so that I don't click too many times. Awesome. Looks great so far. So I have two mates, specifically the fasten mates, which it's like adding glue. And again, it removes all degrees of freedom, okay, which means they can't move anymore once you apply it. There we go. Awesome. Okay, my next step, and another big reason too why we did that is we could use the fasten tool to these two, but they're actually still going to be able to move around. The reason why these don't, these two over here that we started with, is because they're fastened to that origin, okay? They're fastened to that origin. So we're going to go ahead and now I'm going to put one on top and I'm going to show you how you can actually put it at the midpoint. So it's like this Lego piece is kind of in the middle on top as if you're making a little pyramid. So I'm going to use this fasten tool. I want to fasten this space right here. And again, yep, I want that corner. I want that that circle facing in that direction and on the top. So click to make it stay. I'm going to zoom out because I'm going to go over to one of these pieces. Let's use this one. And again, I'm going to go on the underside of this, right? Because that's where I want those two pieces touching. But I want to be at that midpoint, right? Because I want that midpoint to line up. So I'm going to click to make it stay, and let's zoom out to see what happened. Oh, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and switch the direction, and let's not quite, and let's flip it up, and there we go. And let's see if we can kind of rotate it around this way. There we go. Now it's in the location that I want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and click on the green check to confirm. Now I'm going to close, and again, I'm going to try to move it. And as I am moving it, or trying to, if you notice, it's not moving it at all. So, so far it is great. That looks good. You can now try to place this next Lego piece over here, and you can place it any way you want to build an object. The other mate that I would like you guys to also play with is this mate called Slider Mate. And if you hover over it, this one's a little different than the Fasten. Why? Because it does allow the Lego piece to move, but only kind of in one direction. You can imagine a slider, right? So I'm going to just show you this one, okay? Click on slider. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to see if we can do it this way by clicking on, we will click on this space right here, and I want that to line up with this space, but I'm going to zoom in because it's not selecting the face. There we go. There we go. And I want that piece. Zoom out. I want to rotate it again so it's on the top. Click OK, and let's check to see. Oops, let me close that. And if you notice, it moves left and right. Okay. Again, it's almost as if where you placed the constraints, the connectors, they call them, those little circles with the lines showing the axes, they call that a make connector, right? That's even this icon. So if you wanted to add more, you could. But that almost acts as if that will tell you the direction in which it can rotate or it can slide, okay? If I wanted it to go up and down, then I would have made it the bottom with the top, and then it would go up and down. Okay, so let's see if that works. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to test out a different slider. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to edit that one. So, or delete it. So now I can move it again, right? Let's try this slider again. Let's go ahead and now let's click on the top of this, but we're going to click on that midpoint on the top, right? And now we're going to go over, zoom out, move over. We're going to go to the bottom of this, zoom in, bottom, not quite there. I want this bottom face in there. Click to make that stay. Let's zoom out, hit the isometric view so I can see what's going on. Awesome. That looks like it's in the right spot. Click on the green check. Close that window. Now check out which way can it move, up and down, right? It doesn't quite have like clash detection, so it's almost like it's a ghost piece, right? You can put it in the inside of another piece, but that allows it to move only up and down. It won't move left and right. It only slides in one direction. So technically this piece has 1 degree of freedom. Go ahead, start building away.